time for 28mm World War II action. Will you recreate history or reshape it your way? On the Bolt Action Hub at beastsofwar.com. Progress comes to a world of magic as science and the arcane combine to make marvels. Meet steampunk inventors and orc mystics at the Volsun Hub on beastsofwar.com.
Hey everybody, Sam here, also known as Mr. Stainless 001, and we are back for another journey from the tabletop on a quite an idyllic little hill here. Today we are fighting against the forces of Mousillon. This is kind of their final stand almost, and I'm pretty confident going into this battle. We had Louen Leoncouer here with his forces looking over to these ruins atop this little hill, which is where the forces of Mousillon were hanging out. I make it sound as if they were just, you know, chilling, having a cigarette behind the ruins. But either way, Louen also for this battle on his flying Pegasus managed to get him a little Pegasus there before we went into this battle. But once again, we are fighting against another horde of undead, of zombies, of skeletons, and pretty much anything else that the Vampiric forces could throw against us. Like I said, pretty confident going into this battle. We had numbers on our side. Forces of Mousillon kind of didn't really seem very organized in this battle, which you can see by their formation here, kind of in a weird, almost Crucible-esque formation. Basically, they're just a mass of numbers. I think the last battle that I had with the forces of Mousillon kind of gave me a little, not necessarily confidence, but helped me understand how the undead armies work and how we need to really focus in on their leaders. And if we take down their leaders, then the rest of the army kind of starts to fall apart. Equally, the forces of Mousillon here didn't really have any elite or hardened warriors like we did last time, and equally it was just the one force of units as well. So I knew that the troops that I was going into this battle with were all battle hardened. They were incredibly experienced. I knew I could rely on them. This was the basic formation I was running with. It was just another simple 3-line strategy: archers in front, infantry in the middle, and then reserve infantry in the back, and then Pegasus cavalry, as you can see, as well, kind of being in reserve, just flying over the top of them. What I wanted to do this time around was really try and rely heavily on my archers to try and whittle down the undead numbers before they actually reached my front line. These archers that I had in Louen's forces as well, incredibly experienced. I think they're the most experienced archers I have in my Bretonnian forces, so I was pretty confident that they would be able to hold their own. I equally put them into skirmish mode as well. Rather than having my archers in the second line of my forces, I kind of thought, you know what, no, I want to get that extra advantage and have them in the front line, get an extra couple of shots before they run back and continue to pepper the enemy. As you can see there were 5 units of my knights just to the right of Louen's forces, kind of prepped and ready to charge. My hope was that the Mousillon forces would come to me. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. Off to the side of the map, we had Bohemond coming in with his reinforcements. So, learning from our mistakes way earlier on there from the Battle of Caron, what I wanted to do is, if I was able to get the time to do it, was move Bohemond's forces, which were quite meaty, by the way. There's quite a lot of men here he's bringing in. I wanted to move them across to grip up with Louen's forces and then move them as one bulk, one mobile army, as opposed to having 2 separate armies and fighting it in 2 separate fronts and having to split my kind of brain and tactical mind in 2 different areas to try and keep up. I wanted to try and keep them all together, make them move as one unit, as one army, and take on the Mousillon forces that way. Basically for about maybe 5 to 7 minutes, I managed to get my army all together. We were waiting for Mousillon to move. They didn't. We were both on high ground. Their high ground was slightly higher, so they were in a much more tactical advantageous position. So I knew that listen, there's no way the AI is actually going to leave there. I'm going to need to actually take the fight to them, which wasn't great. It's not a great tactical move. I'm basically going to be fighting uphill. I'm going to be fighting at a disadvantage. So what I basically did here was moved in stages. I moved kind of cavalry first on my flanks, and then infantry next, and just moved it maybe about 100 yards each time, just in case the armies, the forces of Mousillon decided to attack. My kind of army was ready to go, and they weren't all split and separated all over the place. What I was going to do here, my main plan was to move for a kind of pincer attack, a three-pronged pincer attack. What we were going to do is move the infantry up the center, get the archers within range so that they would start to pepper the enemy, and that would then trigger my opponent here to charge down and attack in my center, so that otherwise they were just going to lose all their men to my arrows. So I was going to use the archers to initiate the battle, and then you can see the far right I have my knights, and on the left was I think it was just feudal type cavalry, yeoman cavalry I think it is actually, and they were then going to swoop in on the sides as the forces of the undead were moving in to charge, and that was the idea. And it worked. Basically, I got my archers, or I was moving my archers within range. Before they could get into range, though, Mousillon attacks. They sent their war beasts down to my my right flank, right into my feudal knights, or right into my errant knights, and destroyed. War beasts and their bats lasted maybe all of 15 to 30 seconds. So that was their aerial cavalry and their war beasts completely gone. My archers peppered the enemy like crazy. Basically, it was kind of like a reenactment of that scene in The Last Samurai, only with zombies and Bretonnian archers. They let off quite a few volleys actually before they then retreated back because they were in skirmish mode, leaving my halberd infantry to kind of pick up the pieces. You can see the Red Duke buffed himself as he came into attack here. I wasn't too worried really at all. I had my mage just behind these halberd infantry as well, who then buffed my halberd infantry with greater defense to counteract the Red Duke's buff that he put on himself. Now, rest of the zombie horde, the undead horde, start to close in. The morale was high. As you can see, it just turned into a mass of men. But over on the right flank there, you'll notice there's at least about 3 to 4 units there, not engaged. They're free and available. However, because my cavalry had mopped things up on the right flank, I just moved them in and basically assigned 1 unit of cavalry, or 1 unit of knights, to each of these big, massive units, primarily of zombies. And you can see the charge alone decimated the undead forces. This battle, I think the battle in total lasted about 15 minutes, and about 2 minutes of the 2 to 3 minutes of that entire battle was actually the fighting. It was incredibly one-sided. With the undead forces, they just could not fight a battle on 2 fronts. They weren't able to kind of counteract the sheer, I guess, sheer awesome power that the Bretonnian cavalry have when they charge. And it just turned into a massacre, really, which I was totally happy with. I think in total I lost maybe about 40 men in this battle. It was incredibly one-sided. The Red Duke tried to run away. I wasn't having any of it. The knights again went in and mopped things up. It basically, I'm starting to realize now the importance of cavalry in the Bretonnian battles and in the Bretonnian faction. Cavalry is not something that I've used a lot, so it's taken me some time to get used to it, but now that I've started to become accustomed with how the cavalry works in this faction, you really start to notice how the knights can just completely own the battlefield for you. I mean, the Bretonnian infantry, it's solid, it's good, they will hold their own. They're kind of like an immovable object, so to speak, until your knights can get there. But you're really going to want to use your knights to, if you can, flank around behind the enemy, charge them from behind, and just completely destroy them. With that said, though, forces of Mousillon completely decimated. Their entire army was destroyed in this battle, which left, I think, only a few tiny pockets of resistance from Mousillon left, really, for us to mop up in next week's episode. But folks, this week, an incredibly simple battle, not as hard as I thought it was going to be whenever we jumped into it, but next week we're going to mop up the rest of the Mousillon faction, and then we're going to press forth, perhaps press our advantage south, and see what land there is to expand there. But folks, I hope you've enjoyed this week's episode. It's been a little bit chilled, very, very simple, but I would love to hear your thoughts on it. As always, I do love reading your suggestions of tactics. Equally, let me know where you think we should press the advantage next. But until next time, folks, hope you're having a great week. I'll speak to you soon.